Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics on Random. Egberto Willies' host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you tonight, and we also are today, and we also have a packed show. Michael Rutnin, welcome aboard. AVQ, welcome aboard. Dimitri OG, hola, mi amigo, ¿cómo estás, mi amigo? Sister Michaels, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Let's, folks, get busy. We got to get busy right away. What is the show going to be about today? The show is Greg Palast on how to stop Trump from stealing 2020, pity America, COVID, and more. Greg Palast intends on doing his part to prevent another GOP stolen election. Do third world countries now pity America? COVID-19 exposes this president. Greg Palast continues on his trek to expose voting fraud in America. It is well known that Republicans have not received the popular majorities in decades, yet still rule the country. How can that be? Greg Palast's new book, How Trump Stole 2020, officially released today, has all the answers. Mariana Richards Castiglia, how are you doing, my dear friend in Florida? Girl, you stay healthy out there. I know it's crazy out there in Florida, just like it is in Texas. I think Florida is a little bit worse, but we got it covered, baby. We got it covered. Anyhow, folks, let's get busy and get this stuff going. Later, we discuss actually, we are going to start some items before we get into Greg Palast, because I think it is that important. Greg Palast, I want a whole lot of you guys to see that as well. So please remember, if you're just joining us now, please be sure to share these programs. It is imperative if we are going to make that difference. You remember in the Obama days when we used to say things like, you are the change we are waiting for. We are the change you are waiting for. That was a catchy statement. That is a true statement. The grassroots can do it. I mean, yesterday I was talking, I saw a video from a guest that we always have here, Tamara Sheely. And Tamara was in a mobile home, not a mobile home, a mobile van with a home bed, all that good stuff where she and her folk can sleep. And they were driving around in Georgia. She's running for Senate of Georgia. And she's driving around in this van. And I called her up and I said, hey, why am I not seeing this on different videos of you doing this? Because this is what grassroots folks need to understand. We don't have to have the hundreds of thousands, the millions of dollars that are being thrown at us from the corporatocracy. Because in each of these election sectors, there are ways we can do it where we, the people, can give enough $1 and $2 and $3 and $5 and $20 to support you doing what you're doing, so that you are only indebted to us, the ones that you should be indebted to, as you are going out there to serve us as senator, as congressperson, as mayor, or the like. Those people who are going to sit in the office behind a telephone asking for money and money only. Thank you so kindly for that super chat. Shiva Dog, Michael, Joshua, thank you so kindly for that super chat, folks. You can, if you want to support the show, folks, please go ahead on YouTube and provide us with a good super chat, just like Michael Joshua did. He says, Shiva Dog saying, good job, while raising his thumb up. Thank you so kindly, my brother, for doing that. Blessed be unto thee. Folks, as we were saying now, when I saw the van, Tamara in that van, I said, you know what? This is the model we should want to see around the country. You want to be a senator or a congressperson in your district. You don't need a whole bunch of money. you can go ahead and get you a van, rent a van, throw the GoFundMe up there and say, hey guys, this is what renting this van is going to cost me. I am going to be going around. I don't need $300 a night for a hotel. I don't have to stay on the phone 24/7 begging rich donors when I can spend that time talking to the people saying, this is what I will do for you. But I got to get busy because Greg Palast is 32 minutes long. I want to show you something that I was very impressed with Joe Biden about today. This is how you're going to win an election. You don't win an election by saying only what Trump is doing bad. You use what Trump is saying against him when he tries to make a fool out of those people who are talking about green energy. This is how you talk about it. We've got to give Brother Joe Biden kudos on this. Check this out.
Here we are now with an economy in crisis, but with an incredible opportunity. And not just to build back to where we were before, but better, stronger, more resilient, and more prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. And there's no more consequential challenge that we must meet in the next decade than the onrushing climate crisis. Left unchecked, it is literally an existential threat to the health of our planet and to our very survival. That's not up for dispute, Mr. President. When Donald Trump thinks about climate change, the only word he can muster is hoax. When I think about climate change, the word I think of is jobs. Good paying, union jobs that have put Americans to work, making the air cleaner for our kids to breathe, restoring our crumbling roads and bridges and ports, making it faster, cheaper, and cleaner to transport American-made goods all across the country and around the world. Jobs. Jobs to build and install a network of 500,000 charging stations along our existing and new highways that we build across this country, which not only will help America and the American automobile industry lead the world in manufacturing with electric vehicles, it will also save Americans billions of dollars over time in the cost of gasoline for their vehicles. Jobs that lay the lines for the second great railroad revolution, which will not only slash pollution, will slash commute times and open up investment in areas connected to metropolitan centers for the first time. When Donald Trump thinks about renewable energy, he sees windmills somehow causing cancer. When I think about these windmills, I see American manufacturing, American workers racing to dominate the global market. I see the steel that will be needed for those windmill platforms, towers, and ladders that can be made in small manufacturers like the McGregor Industries. I was up in Scranton last week. I see the union-trained and certified men and women who will manufacture and install it all. I see the ports that will come back to life, the longshoremen, the shipbuilders, the communities they support. When Donald Trump talks about improving efficiency by retrofitting lighting systems with LED bulbs, remember what he said? He said he doesn't like LED because, quote, the light's no good. I always look orange, end of quote. The light's no good. I always look orange.
Okay, the reason I wanted that to be shown is, first of all of you know I'm a super progressive guy. All of you know I'm a Bernie supporter. All of you know those are the policies that I want. We didn't get Bernie. We got Biden. Bernie, AOC, and all of them worked with Biden for compromising in what these policies are going to look like. AVQ is correct. AVQ says this is incrementalism. Yes, it's incrementalism, AVQ. But you know what? It is incrementalism from where we are at now. Now we are going to move it from incrementalism into fruition. In other words, we are going to do what it takes to move forward. Okay? I loved that portion of his speech today. Why? Because it countered the argument on the right against green energy, both in coal, both by showing what the argument is going to be used against coal, the argument that's going to be used against natural gas, the argument that's going to be used against oil, and all these other things. He laid it out perfectly. That said, you are correct, Mr. AVQ. You are correct. And by the way, we have a lot of work to do. Progressives have a lot of work to do to move this forward. I'll check that out a little bit later with the comment AVQ, but I got to move on because of the speed of which we're going. But you know, I listen to everything all my brothers and sisters have to tell me on this thing here. Now, the next piece I want to play is also very important, and everybody needs to understand this. What's happening in the with healthcare, and it goes this way. Check this out, and I'll come back on the other side. There was a piece recently that I saw on TV that really should shock many Americans. The question is, how far have we fallen? Check this out.
And Ramon, it strikes me that we covered the Chinese government when this was peaking and surging in Wuhan, when we thought that they were suppressing scientists, and we now are the country doing just that. What does it look like the world over when the leader of the free world is lying and smearing America's version of a truth teller?
Well, honestly, it just is unbelievable. I'm for once I'm basically without words here. I mean, what I can say is I've been working in places like the Democratic Republic of the Congo my entire career, and my colleagues there say, well, now you know what it's like. You know, we have fallen far from our seat of being the country that stands as a bastion of science and truth and understanding. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Dr. Fauci is a scientist, and so he is letting science dictate recommendations, and that is where we should be. And this idea that we can be, you know, taking that our president is taking advice from somebody like Chuck Woolery or promoting these kinds of words from the guy whose biggest claim to fame is being the host of the Love Connection or a name in a Beastie Boys song is just utterly insanity. We need to be focusing on facts and science and staying away from politics. I mean, it's literally insane.
It's literally insane. The reality is we are behaving exactly like the third world countries ruled by dictators who control the media and everything else and put out false information to their people and get their people killed because they are not providing the services that are duly due to the people. America, how much longer will it take for the vast majority to see this? I believe this is the tipping point. Do you? Now, yes, I believe this is the tipping point. AVQ, yes, absolutely correct, AVQ. Let me read the piece that you wanted me to read. Existential threat of global warming. We need $16 trillion for 100% renewable energy by 2030. This incrementalism is what establishment Democrats give us. Nowhere near enough while the world burns. And AVQ, I am 100% in agreement with you. Now, here's where I need you 100% in agreement with me. What we've got right now is just a stepping stone, and you and I and all of us here listening who want these progressive things out have a hell of a lot more work to do, which means we have to use this election to continuously populate the party, populate the Congress with the right people. We don't have the right people there. We suffer exactly what we're seeing here. And Mr. Lee Grant, I'm nowhere close to a Biden bro at all. But you know what? I am more into policy. I'm not into personalities. I'm into policy again, not personalities. As you can see, I played the wrong video. The one that I really wanted to play had to do with health insurance. And here it goes. And then I'll go get back with you, my friends.
We also, Chuck, got another piece of sobering information about that fallout. There's a new study that found that an estimated 5.4 million Americans have lost their health insurance during this pandemic because they lost their job. So at a time when you need health insurance most, You're losing it because health insurance is tied to your private employer.
Yeah, no, the statistics today are just across the board show the different ways this pandemic is hurting. Bankruptcies are up with small businesses. The healthcare number you just identified, the fact that we're having to shut down again, that is, I mean, there is unfortunately not the cascading effect of this pandemic, I think, is right back front and center for us.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics. Okay, that's a piece that I needed everybody to see. That piece pretty much says it all. In other words, whenever you have health insurance tied to employers, it means whenever you do lose your job, you are out of health insurance. And when you have a pandemic like this where we had 20-something million, up to 40 million people lose their jobs, and we have 5 million now, folks, what do you think is going to occur? Exactly what is occurring now. Exactly what is occurring now. Now, you know, it is interesting because I want to, this piece here is going to be a bit funny. Here it is that Donald Trump evidently started to like what Joe Biden is saying from an economic front. And he's saying to his people, but you know, Joe Biden is this left-wing guy, but I am too. What? Check this out and we'll take it on the other side. It's never kind or generally not appropriate to question one's intellect. But when you are in a situation like we are in now, a pandemic where we can actually see that the leader of the country is failing, the leader of the country is a disaster, to not point that out to hope that the rest of the country who to this date have sort of a cultish appreciation of this person, you have to somehow try to illustrate with little snippets here and there. I want you to listen to this because tell me if the president is not saying he's a radical lefty here. That is exactly what he's saying. Check this out.
Opportunity to take bold investments in American industry and innovation so the future is made in America, all in America. When the federal government spends taxpayers' money, we should use it to buy American products and support American jobs.
It's a plan that is very radical left, but he said the right things because he's copying what I've done. But the difference is he can't do it.
Understand what just happened there. He's calling the policies that Joe Biden articulated the radical left. And then he says, those are the policies that I've executed or I want to execute. Joe Biden can't do it. I will do it. In other words, if he's saying Joe Biden's policies are left and he has implemented or will implement those policies, then he's saying, guess what, America? Technically speaking, we know what you want. We know you want lefty ideas. And guess what? I am a lefty. So I come in the package for you. All right. Okay, let me go ahead before we're going to play Mr. Palast right now, Greg Palast right now. But before that, I want to recognize all my wonderful people in the room. Lady DNA and husband, welcome aboard. Christine Park, welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. Lady Dina and husband, Tiala Wilson. Let's see, Sister Slater Michaels. Let's see who else is here. Christine Park, I think I got you already. Taula, did I get Tiala Wilson? Para ver. Michael Joshua actually gave us a super chat. Thank you so kindly for that super chat, Michael. Lee Grant, welcome aboard. Para Mike Cisak, welcome aboard. AVQ, I think I saluted you. Lee Grant, I saluted you as well. Christina Park, I hope I saluted you. Let's see who else is here. If you want me to call you out, please go ahead and just say hello. Marianne Richard Castiglia, my dear coffee party friend and family. Dimitri OG, AVQ, welcome aboard. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Norman Reynolds, my brother, welcome aboard. And Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard. Okay, now, folks, let's go ahead and talk to Mr. Greg Palast. I have one other video, but I think I better get into Palast in case we kind of run out of time. So here we go. Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rana McBerto Willis. I'm here with the one and only once again, Greg Palast. Greg, how are you doing today?
Well, it's hectic in this regime, trying to stay safe.
I know you're trying to stay safe. I heard it's pretty tough out there in California.
Yeah, it's kind of like being isolated in a resort. But okay, I'm not gonna complain. Some people really have it tough.
Well, look, you are alive, and you know what? You have something special that is happening, and that something special is gonna help us navigate the paths that we are gonna have to navigate for 2020. I mean, there is this thing called called How Trump Stole 2020. Do you have a crystal ball?
No, I don't have crystal balls. What I do have is the facts, ma'am. And okay, here it is. This is my ad. How Trump Stole 2020 out today. Now look, it says how Trump stole 2020. That's not a prediction. It already happened. He did steal the election. Now we have to bust the burglary. We got to steal it back. Except that we do it by actually getting our votes counted. So when I say he's stolen it, I'm not kidding, Egberto. What I'm talking about is, for example, 17 million people, 17 million, let's see, 17 million people have been erased from voter rolls in the last 2 years. That's about 1 in 12 voters. And that didn't come from, that Greg Palast didn't come up with this, from a black helicopter. This is from U.S. government agencies. It's kind of hidden in plain sight. The U.S. Elections Assistance Commission keeps track of your votes and keeps track of the non-votes. So you're talking about all these millions of people being wiped off the voter rolls, including, like, my book opens in Georgia. There we had our I was in Atlanta at the polling stations with the list I had gotten through a lawsuit against Brian Kemp, the governor of, then the Secretary
The now
of State,
governor.
and now governor. I got his hit list, and we tried to warn as many people as we could, put it up on my website, et cetera. But I was at the polling station when a 92-year-old woman, dressed to the nines beautifully, they threw her behind out of the polling station in Atlanta, 92 years old. And now it wouldn't be a wild guess to say, is this an African-American woman? Yes, of course. But what adds a particular poignancy, this woman, Christine Jordan, has been voting in the same schoolhouse in Atlanta for 50 years. Or she tried. This was going to be her 50th year. They threw her out. This is Martin Luther King's cousin, who they threw out. And along with Raheem Shabazz, a local radio host, along with a Latina, Ashley Jones, who brought her kids to show her the wonders of American democracy. They throw her out. They won't give her a ballot. This is the games that are being played, and it started in Georgia. And I say, the first chapter of the book, the first chapter of the book is quite short, Egberto. Here, I'll read you the whole chapter. It's called The End. And it says, Donald Trump was re-elected president on November 7th, 2018, 2 years before a single vote was cast. And that was the day Martin Luther King's cousin was thrown out of the polling station. What it was, that was the test drive of their latest method of stealing this election. 340,134 voters removed illegally. I have the list. I have their names and addresses, every one. It's not like it's some sample or some rough idea. This is the exact list of people thrown out. And then they took it to Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin, all the swing states where the GOP has control of the voting process. They have removed, so they wrongly removed 1/3 people in Georgia, people of color, young people. And when I say people of color, that means their color is blue votes.
Right,
Democrat.
right.
So this is what's going on around the nation. Jim Crow has run wild, except it's very sophisticated. Now it's Dr. James Crow, database expert. That's where they play the little games.
Now, let me ask you something, because you've been talking about voter suppression for a long time. Mm-hmm. And this is serious enough that I would want let's say, the mainstream media to be talking about it. You are here on alternative, independent media, getting your message out and making sure that you can talk to as many people as you can. I've seen you on several networks doing your thing. I mean, what I consider the American thing, the patriotic thing.
Yes.
Why is it? Why is it that we are not seeing Greg Palast on This Week? Why aren't we seeing Greg Palast on Meet the Press? Why are we seeing Greg Palast on with Fareed Zakaria? Why aren't we seeing you on these platforms at all?
Well, I got to tell you two things. Let me say I am the mainstream in the rest of the world. Remember, I started digging into the racial vote thievery in America for 20 years ago, starting with the 2000 election for BBC television. That's the number one television network of this planet in English. And the Guardian newspapers, my stuff was at the front page of the Guardian papers. So I'm mainstream in the rest of the world, but in my own country, for the most part, I'm put in the kind of alternative ghetto. But there is no alternative news. There's just the facts, ma'am. And you don't see on the mainstream this information because there's still, despite the protests and the killing of George Floyd, you're really talking about a massive denial and omerta, silence of the mainstream media on rampant racism and apartheid in voting in America. We can't say, as Hillary Clinton said in 2016, you can't say that a presidential election is stolen. Well, guess what? Greg Palast told you that 2000 was stolen by George Bush. I'm telling you, 2016 was stolen by Donald Trump, and you'll read it in the book. And I'm telling you that he's already stolen 2020, but we can bust the burglary and steal it back. But they're very, very, very uncomfortable with that message. And I should say I am on, you'll see me on MSNBC with Joy Reid. The question is, where are the paleface hosts? I'm on with Al Sharpton. But, basically what you're saying is white mainstream media in America wants to do this when it comes to voting in America and race.
Yeah, now I want to digress a bit because you were talking about all the stolen elections here in America. And I think you had a case for 2004 as well, didn't you?
That's right. In fact, I have a chapter in How Trump Stole 2020 called The Red Shift. And that tells you, in the rest of the world, the United States State Department uses the exit polls to determine whether an election is honest. It says, in fact, I even show in the book a State Department pamphlet that says the exit polls are correct, the official vote is always suspect. So in other nations, we've thrown out elections. Ukraine,
Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela. All these elections where the exit polls don't match if the exit polls don't match the official vote, we won't recognize the government, except in America. So in 2004, the exit polls at CNN showed that George Bush had lost among women 54 to 49, and he lost among men by only 51-49. But then CNN said he was the winner. Well, Egberto, what's the third sex that put George Bush over the top over John Kerry in 2000?
That is a very good point.
So where's this mysterious sex that gave George Bush the win in Ohio, which gave him the presidency? The presidency. So we've got that in the book. We show you how it happened, and it happened to Hillary Clinton. According to the exit polls, Hillary Clinton wiped the floor with Donald Trump in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and other states as well, by the way. So what happened here? The answer is that people can tell an exit pollster, here's how I vote. But you can't tell the exit pollster if you knew that your vote was counted. Egberto, this is the nasty little secret of American voting.
You need to explain that in detail, Greg, because that is what Americans don't understand. They figure, well, the exit poll has a plus or minus X percentage issue, but you've actually discovered that it's a lot deeper than that. That many people leave that poll in place without knowing that their vote did not count.
Now, I'm not going to scare you because I do have one page out of 300 with some numbers on it, but they're
Right.
important.
Well,
Because
scare me.
these are from the
Scare me.
government.
No, no, no.
These
Oh, let's stop that. We need you to start scaring people because people need to wake up.
Hello, and ready to wake up. Here's your coffee, right? From the book. Now understand, this is official government figures. I used to be a statistician, so I took the raw data, put it together so you can understand it, because they don't want you to. So I'm putting it together to you. Ballots rejected. Did you know that people vote and they throw away their ballots? They say, oh, you put an X instead of fill in the bubble. You when you mailed in your ballot, you didn't put on 2 stamps, you put on 1, so it's postage due. 100,000 people lost their ballot that way. In all, 1,913,369 ballots. That's a bit below 2 million ballots were thrown out in 2016. Now I say, well, mistakes happen, ballots get thrown out. Yeah, there's always some mistakes, but guess what? According to the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, the chance your ballot will be cast, but it won't be counted for technical reasons, supposedly, the chance your ballot will be rejected is 900% higher if you're black than if you're white. 900% higher, about 500% higher if you're Hispanic, and about 1,200% more if you're an American native. You try to vote when you're an American native, count your votes. We had precincts in New Mexico, for example, where soldiers were supposedly mailing in their ballots. They claim that not one soldier voted for President of the United States. Excuse me? Excuse me, they don't care about who their commander in chief is. They're sitting in a tank in Afghanistan, in Helmand province, say, get me out of here. They don't care who's their president. So this is the games that are played. And look out for your mail-in ballot, because it's that the soldiers, they mail in their ballots. 1/3 of them never get their ballots. And 1 in 10 who do send in their ballots, they're thrown out.
Well, it's interesting, George. I had just yesterday, a Cuban American woman sent me an email saying, hey, I just got my mail-in ballot. Our primary, I think, is Tuesday. So I just got my mail-in ballot, and if I mail it today, can I guarantee that it gets there in time for the election? I said, no, I think you need to go to, she's older. And I said, but you need to go vote. Cover yourself up. I said, it's very antiseptic where in our location to vote, but you got to go vote. She said, but I asked for this a long time ago. I asked for this a long time ago. So,
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, are you ready for this?
Yes.
You might say, okay, well, she was unfamiliar, with the system. I got to tell you, Jerry Thomas, same thing. He got his ballot the day after, on June 10. The election was June 9. Now, you'd say, well, maybe this guy didn't apply early enough. Well, he applied 45 days in advance. He knew exactly what to do. Who is what? And actually, he didn't apply for the ballot. It was his wife who asked for the absentee ballot. His wife, Andrea Young, is executive director of the ACLU of Georgia. If the head of the ACLU can't protect her family's vote, Stacey Abrams. Now, you'll note in How Trump Stole 2020 that I have, there's actually an interview with Stacey Abrams.
Right. And
also an interview with her opponent, Brian Kemp. It didn't go too well. He didn't answer a single question because, my first question was.
You interviewed Kemp?
Yes. Well, you know what happened? I got to tell you this right now. I'm sorry. I'm going to take this. You'll see in the book. In fact, there's even a picture of it. Kemp was hiding from me. This is the Republican Secretary of State of Georgia who's running against Stacey Abrams in 2018 for governorship. He's the guy who experimented for the GOP on wiping out 1/3 voters illegally. And so that's how he became governor. But just before the vote, I'm hunting this guy down. What is he doing? I have a list of 1/3 people. I can show him the names of the people he illegally removed, including King's cousin. And he's hiding. So I hunt down his bus. It's hard to miss Kemp. He's running around in a bus with it says Kemp for governor in 5-foot letters. So I chase the bus down to Noonan, Georgia. The bus stops underneath a pig. That is a neon sign for a barbecue joint. And I'm asking, I said, Brian Kemp, just want, Greg Palast reporting at that time for the Rolling Stone. can you tell me are you removing tens of thousands of black people from the voter rolls so you can steal this election? And somehow he had no answer. He just kept.
He had no answer. That it seemed like a simple answer would be no, right?
Just simple answer, no, I'm not stealing the election. Instead, his answer was to call in the fuzz, and they busted me. It was a catch and release situation. They just wanted me to get. I said, "Are you arresting any other people for asking a question?" And they said, "No, just you." But they let me go.
I bet they knew who you were.
Well, he knew exactly who I was. Well, what I do is I don't wear my hat until I get right next to you.
I have another Palast hat, you know.
And then they say, "Oh no, there he is." He did. His only answer to me when I kept saying, "Why do I have to sue you in federal court to get the list of people you're removing from the voter rolls? This is a public document. You can't just be erasing people and keep it a secret." I sued him in federal court. A federal judge did everything but actually hit him on the head with the gavel. She basically accused him of lying. And I won the case, got the information, and the only thing he said in response to me is like, "Oh, you." So, but we're laughing at it, and by the way, I hope that you got a few laughs out of this frightening book.
Actually, you know something? It's a laughter that says, "We laugh, now we act."
Right, we laugh, we cry, and then we act.
Yes.
And that's very, very important. I try to make the book humorous. That's why we have a comic book in the middle. There's a lot of humor in it, basically making fun of the vote thieves, not of the victims, because there's nothing funny about losing your right to vote. And so I tell the stories in here, the people of the scammers and their scams and jumping them. I also have in there, the jump on Chris Kobach. Now, Brian Kemp, and I make fun of his accent because Kemp doesn't really have that
Southern,
this like redneck accent, which he never had. He just did that to fool the goobers while he's running for governor of Georgia. I'm just like, what are you? I got me a shotgun, and I'm not going to let my daughter date one who doesn't have a healthy respect for the Second Amendment. By the way, that's a quote. I didn't make that up.
Really?
And I got me a pickup truck. You'll see the pickup truck and the shotgun in How Trump Stole 2020. It's all phony. He's an Athens, Georgia, New South lawyer. He used to wear blue suits, red ties, and he suddenly has a pickup truck and a shotgun and wearing jeans, and he's trying to look like a regular guy. And it's all phony, just like the election was phony. But he got the hit list. Look, Brian Kemp isn't smart enough to come up. He doesn't have the brain cells, nor does certainly Donald Trump doesn't have the brain cells to steal elections. They hire the evil geniuses. And the evilest genius really is Chris Kobach of Kansas. If you can't remember his name, you'll see him in the book. Just remember KKK. This is a guy who came up with the secret hit list that he gave to Brian Kemp to remove a third of a million people. And he was giving it out to all the Republican secretaries of state so that it spread like a virus. I mean, this is the real Trump-demic, is the virus in our voting system. And I'm not talking about changing the software. I'm talking about having your vote removed. Please go to your Secretary of State's site today while you're watching this. I want you to do two things. One, how about make it 3? Do me a favor. For Greg Palast today, make it 3. Number 1, go to your Secretary of State, wherever you are, and see if you're still registered. If you're not, register online. 1 in 12 voters lost their vote. And by the way, including a guy named Greg Palast, I looked at my registration and it said no such voter, so I re-registered online.
But aren't you in a blue state, California, and they do it out there too?
Yeah, but you know what? They don't like independent voters here. It's a one-party state. And
okay.
If you don't join the party, you don't get no balloon and you don't get no vote. So they're really bad here in California about independent voting. But I'm a journalist. I'm not in any party. So they make it tough, even in California. So don't assume you're in a blue state that you're okay. Certainly not New York. Check your votes. But the GOP has been slicing through states' voter rolls with a knife. And again, voters of color, young people, and if you've moved even down the street, you don't have to re-register, but if you don't, you're a fool. So the second thing I'm asking you to do after checking your registration is go, obviously get the book, How Trump Stole 2020. And the reason I want you to do it so you can steal your vote back, because at the back of the book, Egberto, you notice that there is something called Ted and Greg's new improved ballot condom for safe voting. Now, Ted is my illustrator, and the ballot condom, there's all these. See, now here's what you do with the ballot condom. You don't wrap it around your ballot. That's not how you make voting safe. What you do is you follow the advice, which is check your registration. And when you go to vote, if you go to vote and you have no choice, and by the way, that's why people were in long lines. They didn't get their mail-in ballot. Like
Right.
So people took your advice and stayed in line. Most of the people we talked to in those 4-hour lines in Georgia in the humid rain were African Americans who did not get the ballot that they requested. That's why they were in line. They're not fools. They're not sitting there in the hot rain, endangering their lives. These people didn't get their ballots. Be very careful. So, and then when you get that mail-in ballot, make sure you fill it in perfectly like you're taking the SAT. It has all these like 15 questions on the outside you have to answer. Use the exact signature that you used when you registered. Use only your registration address. Put on stamps. Most states you have to put on a stamp. And guess what? In wonderful states like Missouri and Alabama, where Doug Jones is fighting for his life for re-election, you have to notarize your ballot.
That's what
Now,
I heard. Yeah.
You have to notarize your ballot in a lockdown. Or, well, you got another choice. You can have 2 witnesses. So in a lockdown, you have to go to Notary Public. It's like a poll tax. Go to Notary Public or get 2 witnesses. In Missouri, you have to do that. Now, a judge did throw that out. A judge said, "This is insane. The federal law says you have a right to vote, and you can't exercise that right to vote if you're going to take the chance of dying, if you're scared of dying."
Exactly.
But then the Supreme Court slammed down, 5-4, those little scamps in the black robes, knocked down that judge, and now you do have to get your ballot notarized. And in Wisconsin, the ultimate swing state, you got to get a witness signature. They're playing so many games with these ballots. You know that, and like in California, you have one advantage, that if they'll tell you if your vote was counted. Did you know that my sister, who is a lawyer, my mother, who is a school teacher, lost their vote, their mail-in vote, because they didn't properly fill in the bubble next to the candidate's name. And the Republicans had 5,000 mail-in ballots disqualified in San Diego. The result, and it's in the book, the result was that the Democrat who won the mayorship of San Diego was thrown out, and they replaced her with a Republican. Not because that was the voters' choice. They just simply threw out 5,000 ballots on these cockamamie grounds about the bubble. We saw that. What's unusual is that my sister and my mother are white people. But I just told you, the chance is 900% higher that you lose your vote if you're black. And by the way, not because African Americans don't know how to fill out a ballot. Okay, let's get over this stuff and this is a big problem, by the way. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, African Americans lose their vote because they don't know how to vote." I actually saw this on ABC. I won't tell you who the
How difficult is it to vote?
So what they do is they play games with your ballot. Like I say, postage due. They don't like your signature. Remember, a mail-in ballot is not a secret ballot. You have your name on it. You know who you are, and they don't have to look inside to know who you voted for. If you're an African American from a certain zip code and they've got your registration, they know who you voted for. They don't even have to open it, okay?
Right.
And they'll come up, let's say, "Oh, you left off your driver's license number." Well, I don't have a car. I don't have a license. Well, you better put no driver's license or your vote's out. These are the things that they're doing. And they're, okay, I just told you 1.9 million votes thrown in the dumpster. 3 million mail-in ballots thrown in the dumpster. Most never get to the voters, so the voter throws them away because you get them a week late.
Right.
1 in 5. You got these, so there's all kinds of trickery and games that these guys are playing that I expose in How Trump Stole 2020. But when you get the information, you could use it to save your ballot, the people. And of course, we have to agitate right now for changes in these rules. And by the way, we're getting some success. I mean, not only some judges, but there's a lot of heat on these guys. Like the governor of Ohio has now said, okay, everyone's going to get a mail-in ballot.
Right.
Okay, that's very nice of him. But guess what? There's a little asterisk that he didn't mention. Okay, his GOP Secretary of State, the Republican, will not send ballots to people who are listed as inactive voters.
Oh.
There's 1,039,000 people in Ohio who are listed as inactive. What does inactive mean? You didn't get to the gym this week? No, it means that you skipped or couldn't vote in a couple elections. Well, you have a right to vote or not vote in America.
Exactly.
They can't deny you a ballot because you skipped an election. And here's the problem, Egberto. You won't know. You won't know that you're not going to get your ballot. So you're waiting there for it. It doesn't come. Now you got to go wait in a 2-hour line to vote and take a chance on getting a virus. This is sick. So make sure you, once again, make sure that you make that request to see whether you are registered. And by the way, just doing that under the law changes you from inactive to active. Now, why are they going after these so-called inactive voters? Because they're 2-to-1 Democrats. 2-to-1 Democrats.
Right.
Come
well,
on.
look, Greg, that was item number 3, and I have item number 4, and that is repeat items number 1, 2, and 3 that Greg just told you, and do that every other month, and do it at least 45 days before the election, because many states, after 30 days before the election, there are no changes. It's locked in. So, folks, do it several times. That make sure you're on the go to your county and your city, or actually it's a county. Go to your county, make sure you're registered, and then after that, do it again. And 15 days before the 30 days before the election, meaning 45 days before the election, do
if
it
you're
again.
confused about where to go to vote.org or gregpalast.com. And of course,
actually, Greg, I want to turn them on to your site. gregpalast.com has. Go to the site, because anything that you want to know about what's happening in the voting domain, you get a chance to learn from his site. This guy's been busting his ass on this particular issue for a very, very long time. So let's go ahead and put that in your favorites, gregpalast.com, because that is where we beat it. And we need somebody to introduce. Now, Greg, lastly, I have a special question for you, because I went ahead and, there's a lot of stuff that I learned from you, and I went ahead and promoted it in some other areas. And there were a couple of people that really got upset at me, because they seem to believe that what you are pushing is that mail-in ballot is bad. And what they're saying is, in these times, we need to have that strong option for mail-in ballot, because a lot of our people won't be able to go out and vote. What I'd like you to do here is explain to the folk that you're not saying these things are bad. You're saying, let's do this stuff right. So please go ahead.
that's a super point. Okay, some people, I have the chapter on mail-in balloting and the dangers of it. Look, 1 in 5 ballots is not counted that are mailed in. You don't get your ballot, that's about 1 in 10, and 1 in 10 that you mail in is thrown out, never counted, lost, disqualified. So it's dangerous to mail in your ballot, but it's even more dangerous to go in and get a virus to vote. So I'm telling people, yes, mail in your ballot, but I'm trying to show you how to do it so it gets counted. So you get it in your hand and you mail it back. Now, I'm telling you, the number one problem is if you don't get your ballot, you can't mail it in. So I'm not against mail-in balloting at all. I'm telling you, look, I'm telling you how to mail in your ballot and make sure it gets to you and that you can send it back and it gets counted. Okay, I'm not telling you don't do it. People have misunderstood this. You know that song, "Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood."
Yeah.
That applies right here. You know,
that's why I want to clarify it, because I did the clarification at these different sites and said, no, that's not what the guy is saying. What he's saying is we need to do this stuff right so it counts. Because also, if you were to go all mail-in ballots, you have to remember that at that point you've lost. If you don't have the option to walk up, you've completely lost control to somebody giving you something to then send back in.
Right. And I do say, look, if you do have the ballot, a lot of states have drop boxes, much better than going to the post office. The post office is going to implode with the weight of these
right.
ballots. They already, as you saw in Georgia and elsewhere, I won't say the post office screwed up. It's the state that did not take into account that, I almost said something wrong. The state of Georgia, the state of North Carolina, the state of Milwaukee, the GOP operatives knew exactly what was going to happen.
What they were doing, yeah.
The disaster. Okay, they know this. So try to take steps knowing that there are people hostile to getting you your ballot or counting it. You take responsibility. If you have to pick it up from the county clerk's office, if you have to drop it off there or drop it off at a box, a lot of states let you get your mail-in ballot and drop it off at the poll, so you don't have to wait in line. You just go in, drop it off, or someone could drop it off for you legally in most states.
How Trump stole 2020. How Trump stole 2020 by the one and only Greg Palast. Greg, real short, what did I not ask that you would have liked me to ask?
The answer is, what's my gift, Daddy? And the answer is, here's your gift. If anyone listening to the wonderful Egberto Willies this week, if you order How Trump Stole 2020 or get the book this week, just send me a screenshot or take your phone and show the receipt or something to audiobooks@gregpalast.com. Audiobook at gregpalast.com, and I will send you a free audiobook, but only this week because you're listening to my bud, Egberto.
Look, folks, you've been listening to the one and only Greg Palast. Let me tell you, he's a gem for the country. He's doing some important work for the country. Let's go ahead and go over there to gregpalast.com. We'll also have links to go ahead and get the book, Greg, because I tell you what, one of the reasons I wanted you on again is these are serious times that require people to be educated. And I don't mean to sound condescending with educated, but I should maybe say to ensure that people are informed. So once again, thank you so kindly for being with Politics Done Right, Greg.
Thank you, and it was done right.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's the third or fourth interview that I've done with Greg. I love the guy. He's always right on point. Anyhow, folks, we're coming close to the end of the program, but let me just salute any new people that have showed up since we started this. I think I saw a couple of new folks show up here, but there's so many messages here, I may have missed it. So forgive me. I think I got Christine Park. Did I? If I didn't, but I don't remember if I called your name, but I'm calling it now. Okay, let's see anywhere else. Let me just kind of run down. Oh, I need to thank somebody, don't I? Slater Michaels, thank you for the super chat. That is how we can continue to get things done here for the people who support our show. Let me go ahead and just close out the show by, first of all, thanking you all for being here, letting you know that we will continue to do our job. We'll continue to bring good folks to you, sort of to inform us all. And notice I said inform us all. This is a community thing. This is a thing where we all work together to learn together. That is how you really get things done. No one person has all the answers. And that's why, people always say, why they throw those damn conservatives out of that room, because we're a progressive show. And to that, I always answer one important thing. I've learned a lot from conservatives as well. I mean, I'm not a conservative at all. I am a lefty, progressive, liberal, left of left. But there are good ideas coming from everywhere. And I enjoy listening to good idea. What I'll do, Michael, guess you'll get to the messages after the show. Yes, I'll get to the messages after the show. But there are two messages you left that I want to make sure, let you know that I'm going to do. I'm going to put what the gift is that he mentioned on the show. And I'll also make sure to cut out that clip with Martin Luther King that you asked for. Because I'm going to go ahead and set it up on YouTube. And I trust that you'll go out there and put it out there, promote that to say, hey, folks, look at what's happening with this guy. I want this guy to sell a whole lot of those books because, again, we have to keep all our people informed and we have to help all people in this progressive space. I want here. I want people and I want them, if they're selling their books that are informing us with the right sort of information, I want them there, and I want to give them that platform that say, brothers, please go out there and share and sell your book. That's how we are going to that is how we are going to get things done and be able to do what we're doing here. So when I knew that Greg's book was being released, his his person called him and said, hey, Greg's having the official release of this book that we spoke about a few months ago. And I said, you tell Greg, come on to the show because we are going to push that book for you as well. Anyhow, folks, if you want to support our show, there are several ways to do it. I'm going to start putting some links on the screen. Please, please, please. Become a subscriber via Patreon. Many of you that's listening right now, you're already subscribers. And those of you, I thank you so kindly for the ones that are here that's subscribers as well. You can also subscribe on Facebook. I just got approved by Facebook to take subscriptions, so we don't have a lot of people there yet. So go to politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. Again, for Patreon, which is our main subscriber base, it is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. For Facebook, it is politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. And of course, if you want to support us via PayPal, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. All these links take you directly to the particular platform that does this, that provides the service. And if you want to get some of our books and our cups and our t-shirts and all of that, please be sure to go to politicsdoneright.com/store. politicsdoneright.com/store. You want to support our equipment fund? Please go to politicsdoneright.com/GoFundMe. That supports our equipment fund. Look, I really enjoy having you guys. Oh, let me just show you the two books. These are the two. We have another one that I'm trying like hell to get these others completed. I have like 6 books in the works right now. 6 books in the works right now. And subscribers to Politics Done Right, as they're released, you get to get them all online por gratis, for free. So folks, once again, thank you very much for being here. Love you all. Please share the programs. Please tell people about the programs. We don't have the advertising budgets to throw up all those advertising that you have a lot of these shows that can afford to do that and have it all over Facebook and YouTube or whatever. I need you. So please become subscribers. Please become donors. Please become sharers. Please do all these things that's necessary for us to be successful and for us to get the jobs done. Thank you so kindly. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I'm going to end this, baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.